Let's go to the exam day strategy. I will show you a blank question paper first, and we will try to absorb it. And I will walk you through I will walk you through what you will actually feel. And I will also walk you through the different rounds that I use. All right. So let's look at the blank question paper first. What I want you to do is also familiarize yourself with this blank question paper, because a similar question paper will appear to you on the 16th. So I want you to familiarize yourself with this paper right now itself. And I want you to feel at home with this paper. I want you to feel like it's a friend to you. Also, very important, I don't want 16th of June to be the first time you ever see a UPSC question paper in your hand. All right, especially for our first attempters. Of course, our fellow aspirants who will be giving second, third, fourth attempt. This will not be new to you, but at the same time, 16 June should not be the first time you see this paper in the last year. All right, so this applies to our second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth attempters as well. Let's move. I will change my screen and I will show you the actual question paper, right? Okay. This is what it looked like. This was set B. And as you can see, it started with history. This was the section that I got. So just imagine that I'm sitting 28th of May, 2023. I'm sitting. I have done my meditation. I have just taken deep breaths and I open the paper. The bell rings, I open the paper. Sorry, you will get some time to scan through your paper as well. So it is only when the bell rings and you can actually start solving and marking your OMR sheet. I'll talk about the exact timeline. But this is the paper. And I'm seeing these questions, right? So I look at Dhanya Kataka. Let me just change the color for you. All right. So I'm looking at Dhanya Kataka and I have no idea what it means. Okay. What do? I circle it. I have some instinct here that told me that it could be between these two. I don't know why. There was an instinct. So I've circled this. The second thing I'll do is I'll move on and I will look at this. And what happened in this case was, let me change the ink for this one. In this one, I felt fairly confident. Okay. So what I did is I opened this. I did a bold tick mark here and I was fairly confident. And I marked the question, the answer. And if this is my OMR sheet, I quickly went ahead. So this becomes my round one. Why? Because I have 100% confidence in this one. Okay. So this is my round one question because I have 100% confidence and I go to the OMR sheet and I immediately I circle my bubble. Why? Because I have 100% confidence. My answer is not going to change, right? So this is round one question. Again, I go to the next question. I don't know what it could be, but I have a instinct. I have a slight instinct that this could be ports. So while I'm solving it, what I'm also doing is, you can look at it here, and I'll show it to you in my original paper. I am going round wise, round one, round two, round three. Let me just take a step back and discuss what these three rounds look like to you. Okay. I will need to pull up the blank sheet. Just one second. All right.
लेकिन दोस्तों इससे पहले हम इस वीडियो में आगे बढ़े, मैं आप सभी के साथ एक इंपॉर्टेंट इन्फॉर्मेशन शेयर करना चाहता हूं। दोस्तों, अनअकैडमी जो कि इंडिया का बेस्ट प्लेटफॉर्म है फॉर यूपीएससी प्रिपरेशन, उसने अपने यूपीएससी सब्सक्रिप्शन के प्राइसेस ड्रास्टिकली रिड्यूस कर दिए हैं। अनअकैडमी का यूपीएससी सीएससी सब्सक्रिप्शन फॉर 15 मंथ जो कि वर्थ है 49,999 रुपीज़ का, अब उसके प्राइसेस रिड्यूस करके मात्र 24,999 कर दिए गए हैं, विच हैज़ बीन द लोएस्ट एवर। और ये ऑफर केवल लिमिटेड पीरियड के लिए वैलिड है, तो आप अभी जाइए और सब्सक्राइब कीजिए।
I would do it in 3 rounds. Round 1 would be all the questions in which I'm 100% sure I would immediately bubble my OMR. Round 2 will be questions where I'm 50% sure only. In this question, so let's say I have a certain question, question 1 or let's take question 1. I have a feeling that it could be A or D, for example. And I open the page. So this is the page. On the top, I make a table. All right. This table on the left is where I record the ones which are my second round questions or the ones in which I'm 50% sure. And here I write the ones in which I only have a hunch. So These are my round 3 questions. Let me just make this table bigger. This is what the top of my page looked like. And I'll show this to you in my original question paper. I'm solving the questions. If it is a round 1 question, which means I'm 100% sure, I would immediately record it and I would immediately bubble my OMR sheet for that one. If it is a question which I think is round 2, I will come here and I will write question 1, A or B. And let's say my instinct is going more towards A, so I'll circle this. Even in the 50% ones, which is your round 2 questions, you will feel like while you are unsure between A and B, you still have a higher hunch towards A, for example. So what I would do is, not only would I record that question 1 is my round 2 question, I would also record which option do I have a higher instinct or a sixth sense in. So I will circle that. In round 3, so while I'm moving and I'm going from question to question, let's say question 5, this is an example. In question 5, I only had an instinct that maybe it could be option C. That's it. It was nothing. It was just a guess, but it was a very strong instinct. Okay. So in this one, I will write here, this is round 3 table, the right part of that table. And I would write question 5 and I would just say C, that I'm thinking that this is C. What happens when you do this is your 100% questions you have recorded on your OMR sheet. You have bubbled your OMR and that is done. So you can keep your around 1 questions because you've just marked it on the OMR sheet. While you're moving question to question, while you're moving question to question, you will also record that round 2 questions are on your left box, and you will record that, okay, I have a feeling that it could be A or B, and my instinct is saying A. Now, when you come back, when your round 2 actually starts later, I'll show you when it will start. You only have to look at this. You don't have to look at C or D. You don't have to look at it. Don't waste time in it. Your subconscious talks to you. So just listen to your subconscious and then just decide whether you want to attempt the question and circle A or not. Or maybe you change your mind and you think it's B. But take a call. Decide whether you actually want to do it or not. Okay? Based on this, you will also decide, basically you want to skip the question or you want to actually attempt it. This will be your round 2. Then what will happen is similar thing in round 3. When you come to your round 3, I'll show you when it starts. In round 3 as well, you'll just go to that question and you'll see that, okay, you had an instinct for C. Do you still think it's true or not? This is a very broad framework of how it works. I will now apply it and show it to you, but I wanted to show you the theoretical framework first. I'll just switch my screen again and show you the question paper. Now let's do it here, okay? I'm going to do it live. Let's try it. Question 1. I am doing it right now. I don't know what I did in 2023, but right now, if I just see it, let's say that I'm unsure between A and D. And I will write it quickly. And this is while I'm solving, I will write A or D. And because I had an instinct towards, I think I had an instinct towards D, which is, I think it's the wrong answer. But anyway, let's just focus on the strategy here. So question 1, A or D, and I've circled it. Next, question 2, I was very confident and I went and marked it in the OMR, and I've marked it with a single tick, a single bold confident tick that I have put it in the OMR. I can forget about this question now. Next one, question 3, I had an instinct that it should be POTS. So where do I put this? Because it's an instinct only, I will put it in round 3. This is round 2 column, and this is my round 3 column. Because it's only instinct, I will just write 3 and I will write B. All right, I'll move on to the 4th one. Vata Kirutala. I still don't know the answer of this. It's a single statement question where single option question. And I don't think I had an instinct. I don't have an instinct right now. I don't know what I did, but we'll see. Let's move to 5. Now here 5. 5. So 5 I knew was a difficult question. Why? Because I didn't know about this. I didn't know much about this either. They are asking which of these, how many of the above dynasties established their kingdoms in early 8th century AD. My history is not that strong. So I just went ahead and I said, I'm not going to attempt it. Also, because I don't have any option I don't have any room for logical thinking here too, right? It's risky. Even if I put logic, common sense, concepts, anything, it's a risky question for me. Others might be able to do it. For me, it was a risky question. I put a very bold cross here, right? I put a very bold cross and I moved forward. This one, again, I wasn't too sure. I think I circled it. I'm not sure right now, so I'm just going to circle it. So in question 7, round 2 and round 3, again, I'll follow the same process. In question 7, I have a gut feeling that it is Jainism, but it's a very strong gut feeling. So I'm actually going to put it in round 2 itself, and I will say 7. I have a very strong feeling B. I also think that the reason I'm confused is that I was not sure about A. It could be Buddhism also. Buddhism also practices non-violence, right? So I wasn't sure. I was stuck between Buddhism and Jainism. The actual concept we will discuss in a later video. We can do that. But here I'm telling you live during the exam under pressure what was going through my mind. I was not sure whether it will be Buddhism or Jainism, but my strong instinct was going towards B. So I went above at the top of the page in my table, round 2, I put it as 7, B or A, and my higher instinct going for B. So I've circled the higher instinct option. Next. Who among the following rulers Vijayanagar and prior constructed Tungabhadra? Here I still remember I was unsure again, and I was unsure between A and Devaraya and I think Virupaksha. I was unsure between these two, but the problem was my instinct was not, so I was unsure between A or D. Let me do it above on my table itself. So here, I'll record it here still, and I'm unsure between A or D, but I don't have an instinct, so I'm not going to circle any of them because there's no sixth sense coming to my head on what it could be, all right? I'm doing this live, so there might be slight glitches, but let's just try it. Who among the following rulers of medieval Gujarat surrendered due to Portuguese? Again, this question, strong instinct that it should be Bahadur Shah, wasn't confident. Okay. So I go to round 3, I put it here. I say 9 and C. It's an instinct. I wasn't feeling confident. History is not my strong subject. Again, in 10, I'm not sure what I did like that. I'll show it to you on the original question paper. But here also, I think I was confused between these two. And I had a very strong feeling here for D. So if I was solving this live at the exam hall, I would put 10 here and I would say A or D. Okay? And strong instinct, not A or D. C or D. But very strong instinct towards D. So I will circle that. Okay? Next, let's come to due process of law. Here also, I was confused, I think, between natural justice. So you'll see these are easy questions. I will come back in a segment to tell you how and why, and this is a mistake, to tell you how and why this first page affected my confidence and it made me now start losing confidence even in easy gift questions. This is a very easy gift question. I'm going to save this example for later when I discuss your mindset and give you tools on how you should improve it. I'll come back to this then. So again, now this is a gift question. I should have known that it's A. My subconscious knew it is A. But because of the previous set of 10 questions and the nervousness, I was unsure here. Okay, so I think I circled it and I did something. Now coming here again, Prisons Act, I haven't read it. Unsure, I will put 12 and whatever, let's say I'm thinking that it could be A or C, for example, and I'll go and I'll record it here as 12 A and C. Now I come to question 13. Question 13 was something that I was very confident on. What do? This automatically makes it qualified for round 1 bubbling, right? So this is a very, very confident round 1 question. I will immediately, so defines and limits. So C is the answer here. I was confident in the exam. Let's assume we are in the exam hall. I'm confident that it's C. I will go here. I will open the OMR sheet and I will quickly transfer my answer. I will put C here. I will bubble it right immediately. I will not wait for later. All right. And then I will put a bold tick here just to tell myself that you have attempted it. Now forget about this question. You have attempted it and marked it on your OMR. Forget about it. 14-2. I'm not sure what I felt during the exam, but right now I think I was confident. Or let's see. Let's assume I was confident. For example, maybe I wasn't during the exam. I can't recall. But 14, since I'm confident, again, I will put it on the OMR, bubble it immediately and put a very bold tick here. This is my round 1 question. And then I will move on to the next question. Again, this one was a this was an easy gift question, okay? It's a gift question. In fact, the entire theme, it's a thematic repetition from your PYQ. So we should know it. You are confident about it, you will put a bold tick and you will immediately circle your OMR right then. Why? Because you are confident about the answer. Bold tick and move on. So let's just assume that you have done all of this and you have completed your what will you call it? Your one reading of the paper from 1 to 100 is now done. And you have categorized your questions in 3 categories. Let me go back to our previous slide. Okay. Here you go. Let me erase this. You have categorized your questions. So you've done one reading. Just 1 second. Let me adjust the thickness of the pen. It's not helping me a lot. Okay, I think we have to work with this thickness itself. So I'll try to be neater for you. 1 second. Okay. You have finished your one reading of the entire paper. And you have categorized your questions in 3 categories. If it's R1 where you're 100% sure, you will immediately OMR it. You will put it on the OMR and you will bubble it, right? If it's R2, you saw our table on the top of the paper. You transferred it either to R2 where you are sure that 2 options are not the answer, but you are confused between remaining 2 options, right? So you'll put it here. For example, like I showed you, question 7, not sure, you will put A or B. And you will also circle a question where you had you will circle the option where you have a higher instinct. Okay. And then of course you have round 3 category where you have a hunch towards just one single option is your hunch. After one reading, you have these questions in your categories. How much time does this take? This is one reading, first reading, where you have categorized your questions into 3 different rounds. It took me 1 hour 15 minutes or 1 hour 20 minutes. In my simulations as well, it would take me around 1 hour 10 minutes. In my mock of PYQ simulations, it would take me 1 hour 10 minutes. During the exam, it took me a higher time. Why? Because exam condition stress. And another reason was because 2023, as you all know, was a new format, right? Majority of the questions were in the new format. So to process that shock, to really deal with the new format and really put my mind towards it, also because we didn't have options in the new format, we could not process it using the aid of options. Elimination, the advantage of elimination had been reduced. It didn't go entirely for sure. It just got reduced. So you take a longer time. The reason I'm taking so much time to explain this is because in 2024, there could be a new format change. There could be a shock for you. So if during mocks, you think your round 1 is taking 1 hour 10 minutes or even 1 hour, don't panic. Don't panic if you end up taking 1 hour or 1 hour 20 minutes. Because it's exam conditions, you might take a higher time. This is possible. Okay, so I'm just alerting you to the fact so that you don't panic during the exam hall. Next, what I do is I start my next round. So I finish my first reading. I start the second reading. In my second reading, I will take, I took 30 to 40 minutes to do what? I'll go back to the question paper now. In my second reading, let's use the original paper now. Let's actually open the actual paper, okay? Just move this. All right. My original paper, 2023. This is the front page. And this is the first page that I see. So you can see here, I wasn't sure about. So this one I was fully sure about, fully confident. Question 2. It may or may not be right, but in the actual exam hall, I was sure. So this one I had marked in the OMR bubble immediately. Question 3, I wasn't exactly sure, but I had a strong gut feeling towards B. So I put it in round 2. This is a stronger gut feeling, right? R3 is where you take greater risks and your gut feeling is slightly lower. So I've put 3B here, I've put 4B or D and 1D. Now you can see in question 4 also, even though I'm unsure between two statements, I don't have an instinct towards any. So I will not circle these. I will not circle any of either this or this. I'll leave it without circling. Let me show you some more examples here, where the table, you can actually see the table. So 25C, you can see that, 25C, I've put it here. Now let's move to, so you have a sense of what I did in the first reading. Let's move to the second reading, which for me started around 1 hour, 15, 20 minutes later. Now we're on our second reading. What do? I don't start again from one to like the first question. I don't do that. I immediately just go to my box. So now in my second and third reading, I will only move box to box to box to box. That's it. Because I've done my categorization. My first box says that I'm not sure between 3 and 3B. So what I did is in the actual exam, I went back to 3. I saw pots B here and I still wasn't sure. So what did I do on the first page? This is the final one. On the first page, I just go and put it here basically that I'm still not sure and I put 3B and I'm noting down what the question is about. So that in my round 3, I can just take my final decisions. Next, what I'll do is I will move on to 4B or D. Here again, you see that I wasn't sure. I didn't attempt it. Now, do you see the bold cross here? In my second reading, I put a bold cross and I've told myself that I will not attempt it. I've decided not to attempt it, even though it's here. In 1D, again, yes, see now, you see that I attempted it. Do you see that earlier it was circled and later there's a tick here? So there's a circle and there's a tick, which means that in my round 2, what I essentially did is I bubbled it. Because by round 2, I decided that, okay, I'm going to go with option D, Magat, which is my higher instinct. And I circled it and I put it on the OMR sheet. I'll show you another one here. So let's assume that we are in our second reading. After 1 hour, 1:15 timeline, we started our second reading and we come here. Now in 7B, you saw that I've written here that I have an instinct towards Jainism. I recorded 7B here. Now in my round reading 2, right? This is reading 2. In reading 2, I come here and I say that, okay, I'm going to go and boldly, I'm going to attempt it. And 7B, I will mark it on the OMR. So now I've marked it on the OMR in my second reading and I've ticked it here. I've ticked it here and I've also ticked it here saying that you've marked it on the OMR, forget about it. Next thing, I go on 8 again. And 8, I don't think I was still sure. So I didn't attempt it even in my second reading. Let's try the 10th question. Yes, I had saved the 10th question for the second reading, right? And I'd written C or D. So now in the second reading, I decided to attempt it. I put a bold tick here. I circle it on the OMR. I marked D only. So I circled OMR as D and I came back. I put a bold tick here to tell myself that I've attempted it. And even here, I have ticked it. I've quickly ticked it saying that I've attempted it, forget about it. This is second reading as well. Now let's come to question 11, for example. Question 11, again, this is second reading. I attempted it within the second reading. I put up, and how do I know it is my second reading? Because I'm in the reading 2 box. Right? I'm in this box. So it is my second reading. I've put a bold tick, which means I've attempted it in the second reading. Let's try the 13th one too. 13th also, now I'm looking at it I wasn't sure. It seems like during the paper, I wasn't sure about this. So here, the reason this wasn't an easy question, actually it wasn't an easy question, is because all these options in their own selves are not wrong. Independently, these questions are not wrong. But if you have to choose the option that is most suitable to answer the chief purpose, then you have to choose one. That's why I kept it for round for reading 2. And then when I was confident that it is C, I marked it on the OMR sheet. I ticked it here. And then I also ticked it here, saying that, okay, I've marked it. Okay? So this, we've discussed round 2 now. So you will move forward in the entire paper and do your reading 2, and you will decide if you want to do a round 2 question or not, or you want to skip it, or you want to see it later maybe. Now imagine that you finished your entire 100 questions. Where is it? 100 questions, you finish this, and you are in reading 3, right? So, pointer's not working, 1 second. Yeah. So you have finished 100, you have finished your second reading. Now, when did I finish my second reading? If you can see the screen here. Second reading, I finished, I took another 30 or 40 minutes. So if I started my second reading around 12:45, the paper starts at 9:30. I took around 1 hour, 1 hour, 15 or 20 minutes to finish my reading 1, which meant that I started my round 2 at 10:45 roughly. And I took around 30-40 minutes to now finish my reading 2 and circle some more OMR bubbles. Okay. So that I finished in 30 or 40 minutes, which means that I am now at the 11:15 mark. 11:15 AM mark, right? Let me just clear this and show you where we are. The paper started at 9:30. I did my first reading, which took me 1 hour 15 minutes, roughly, or 1 hour 15 to 1 hour 20 minutes. And we were at 10:45 AM. My reading 1 was done. And in reading 1, I had only marked my OMR sheet with bubbles in which I was 100% confident. At 10:45, I went back and started my reading 2. In reading 2, I processed my round 2 questions, looking at the top of my question paper, the left box, and I just decided if I want to attempt it, I want to skip it, and if I want to attempt it, I will shift it to the OMR. I will bubble the OMR sheet. This took me 30 minutes, so now we are at 11:15 AM. How much time is left for the bell to ring? Exactly 15 or 20 minutes, 15 or 10 minutes. Let's keep it as 10-15 minutes. Okay. So I had, on the actual day, I had 10 or 15 minutes to finally take a decision on my round 3 questions. Okay. How did I manage this now? Let me show you that in the original paper. So now my reading starts again, and because you only have 10 or 15 minutes left, this is a game of flipping and taking very calculated risk to decide whether you will attempt the question or not in your round 3, right? Because this is purely instinct based. So I come here and I see that none of these are round 3. I come here, this entire thing is blank. I'm not going to bother about it. I'll come here. There was nothing for round 3 left for me here. Here, I had 1 question for round 3 to process. I quickly, in my 10-15 minutes, I skipped to 22, the 22nd. And marsupial question, yes. So here in the 2020, in the 22nd one, I quickly attempted in round 3. I put a bold tick here saying that, yes, you've attempted it, forget about it. So this is my third reading in the 10-15 minutes when I'm actually processing and doing these questions, okay? This was the page 15. So 15th page, I see that there are 3 round 3 questions. I'm quickly taking a guess. I'm thinking if I want to attempt it or not. Here, because they are not ticked. 35 is not ticked. 36 is not ticked and 38 is not ticked, which means I didn't attempt it. I skipped them. So in the actual paper, I didn't attempt these questions, okay? This is in the in the reading 3 where I'm making these decisions very quickly in those 10-15 minutes, whether I want to attempt it or not. Your reading 3 is more about, reading 3 is going to be more about you now inching towards and pulling, खींचना है हमें इसको, हमें अपने नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस जो अटेम्प्ट किए, हमारी जो रेंज है, जो आपने PYQ सिमुलेशन से एक रेंज डिसाइड करी होगी, we will discuss that. I'll show you a slide on how you should plan how many numbers to attempt for based on your strengths. But let's say, in my case, I'll take my example. My sweet spot range was 75 to 85 questions, roughly. I think it was something like this. I'm forgetting, maybe 80. Whatever it was, this was my range that I knew after my PYQ simulations that this is my safe range. Okay. So I didn't have a fixed number, and that can be an advantage. So now imagine in round 2, let's just say that let's say I'm at the 69 mark, or maybe even 72 mark. In my reading 3, I have to pull these questions up and come where I have to pull it up and bring it to my safe zone of 75-80. That's the risk analysis that I'm doing. I'm going question after question and seeing whether this question is risky for me to attempt or it's safe for me to attempt, just to make sure that I land in my safe zone of 75 to 80 questions. That's it. Okay. So this was round 3. I'll show you one last page just as another example. In my reading 3, I am only looking at this box. Third reading, I'm going to each of these. So 63rd question, I am going and seeing that I've marked C. So 63rd, I thought that, oh look, even this happens. So 63rd question, my gut feeling was saying C, but I ended up marking D, maybe because I thought I analyzed a little more in my reading 3 and I thought that it should be D. So this is how you'll process, okay? In round 3, in reading 3, you're basically looking at those types of questions where you only have an instinct. And within that last 10-15 minutes, you're basically deciding whether you should mark it on the OMR or not. This was basically the walkthrough of the original paper. Let's come back to our slide and just absorb it a little, okay? I know it was a huge information dump, but let's do it slowly and do a quick recap, okay? Now, this is me recapping my exam day strategy, especially in terms of how I went about rounds and readings, okay? I do my paper in 3 readings. And I categorize in each of these readings, I categorize my questions in 3 rounds or in 3 difficulty levels. Okay? This is, so 3 readings and 3 rounds or 3 difficulty levels. In the first reading, I am categorizing my questions in terms of whether they are round 1, round 2, or round 3. If they are round 1 questions, I will immediately mark them on the OMR sheet because they are questions in which I am 100% sure that I have the right answer. In round 2, I categorize and I bucket questions in which I was sure only about 50% of the options. So I was stuck between 2 options, and I have to take a risk-based decision on whether I should attempt these or not. Okay. In this case, of course, if there is any option in which I have a higher instinct, I will circle that as well. You saw that on the top of the table, which I showed you. My round 3 questions are the ones where I only have a hunch. It is only my subconscious, my sixth sense telling me that, listen, option C could be the answer, right? So this is the one where I will take my risk very calculatively, and I will judge with a lot of wisdom and risk appetite. This is how I divide my questions. In terms of the readings, I'll just do a recap. My first reading takes 1 hour 15 minutes or 1 hour 20 minutes. So by 10:45 a.m., I have finished my reading 1. This will change depending on the difficulty of the paper. My second reading takes 30 to 40 minutes. I finish it by 11:15 a.m. After which I am basically left with 10 to 15 minutes in which I have to take my final decisions. What do I take my final decisions on? My round 3 questions, which I saved for later. quickly in the 10 to 15 minutes, I basically decide whether I am going to take the risk on the question or not, or whether I will simply skip it. Okay? So this is a summary of the rounds and how I went about my paper. This was a last minute note that I had with me in my diary, and I saw this at least 2 to 3 times before I actually entered the hall, just to revise the choreography of the paper, right? So I've written it that R1 and R2, if your instinct is talking, if my instinct is telling me that it's sure about a certain answer, I will mark it. And round 3, I will only do if I'm really sure about it, I will take a calculated risk. Now, a very important note on why we should skip, whether we should skip or not, and if we skip, what kind of questions we should skip. Okay. I am telling you through rigorous PYQ analysis that UPSC here, this is what I've written. UPSC gives you these questions, which are which type of questions? The has to be left questions. Okay. These questions have to be left. Let me give you examples. The Pran Pratishthan PYQ, the Daya Bhaga Mitakshara question. For me, I didn't know them. These are questions that UPSC gave me to leave, right? So what I want to actually tell you and prove to you in a way is that UPSC is not just testing your knowledge and facts. And I've used PYQs to actually show this in other videos. You can take a look at that. UPSC is not just testing knowledge and facts. It is testing your concepts as well. But it's also testing one very important thing. It's testing whether you can make decisions under very high pressure, and whether you can stay calm or not. Okay. Having said this, a very important decision actually is to skip a question that is difficult. So the reason I'm spending so much time to tell you this is because I don't want you to feel guilty or shame yourself in the exam hall when you decide to skip a question. Okay. This is a very important note. You can see that in my last minute notes to myself in my journal. Before I walk into that hall, I've written here, UPSC has given you these questions that have to be left. You are good in question selection. I told myself and I affirmed, it is a positive affirmation for myself where I tell and remind myself that I'm good in question selection. Okay. Why? Because I'd practiced and I could see that I'm selecting the right questions and which are giving me net positive score. So what I said is take the right risk. Okay. I've written take the right amount of risk, and I've said in R3, only do the ones in which I'm very sure. So this is what I've written to myself. Of course, I've given myself other affirmations too, and we'll discuss that in the mindset video.
और दोस्तों, इससे पहले हम इस वीडियो को एंड करें, एक इंपॉर्टेंट इन्फॉर्मेशन यूपीएससी प्रीलिम्स 2024 के स्टूडेंट्स के लिए। दोस्तों, अनअकैडमी करा रहा है UAIPMT यानी अनअकैडमी यूपीएससी प्रीलिम्स मॉक टेस्ट 2024 9 जून 2024 को, और ये मॉक टेस्ट बिल्कुल यूपीएससी प्रीलिम्स के लेटेस्ट पैटर्न पर बेस्ड होगा और जिसमें आपको मौका मिलेगा देश के सबसे बड़े एस्पिरेंट्स के पूल के साथ पार्टिसिपेट करने का और अपनी परफॉर्मेंस को एनालाइज करने का बिफोर प्रीलिम्स एग्जामिनेशन, जिसमें अब 2 हफ्तों से भी कम का टाइम बचा है। दोस्तों, इसका जीएस टेस्ट होगा 9:30 AM to 11:30 AM एंड CSAT का टेस्ट होगा 2:30 PM to 4:30 PM ऑन द सेम डे।